welcome back to a special Blu-ray showcase. And today we're going to be showcasing the Huckleberry Hound show, the complete series, on 11 discs. This is a brand new Warner Archive release. And this is one that, probably besides the Quick Draw McGraw show, I think this was probably the show that I wanted a complete series release for the most. Because if you go back to the history of the Huckleberry Hound show on DVD, they've only really made Volume 1, which has pretty much all of the Huckleberry, Yogi, and Pixie and Dixie cartoons made for the first season. And that one was a pretty good set, even though it wasn't the full episodes, it was just some of the cartoons. It did have the full versions of the first 6 episodes, but they were only available as bonus features. Of course, it wasn't the only Huckleberry Hound show related DVD. There was also the Cartoon Network Crack-Ups, which included one of each of the original cartoons on Huck. There was Spud Dud from Season 3, Barefaced Disguise from Season 3, and Heavens to Jinxie from Season 2. So there was that. And then there was also the Yogi Bear show, which technically isn't part of the Huckleberry Hound show, but the first 13 episodes, but the first 13 Yogi cartoons on there were originally made for Season 3 of the Huckleberry Hound show, so that technically counts in that way. And then there was also, and then the last one was the Best of Warner Brothers 25 Hanna-Barbera. That one, even though Huck and Yogi do appear on the cover, it doesn't have either cartoon. Instead, there's actually 2 Hokey Wolf cartoons instead. Hokey Wolf being the series of segments that replaced Yogi Bear shortly after Yogi Bear got his own show. But yeah, but this is the complete series, so all 4 seasons on 11 discs. It is housed in a cardboard case with 3 Blu-ray cases. Here's what the back looks like. I'll do a close-up and see if you can read that. Actually, let me... this is sealed, by the way. Let me remove the sealing before you get a closer look at this. So, all right. Ooh, we even have what the spine looks like. Awesome stuff. All right, here's a better look at the back. Sure it's in focus. You could pause to read it. I'm not going to read it in its entirety. But yeah, all of the bonus features that were on the Season 1 Volume 1 DVD are also on this set, which is great. We have screenshots of some Huckleberry cartoons. I remember in one interview with C.H. Greenblatt, one of the directors on Jellystone, he talked about how the existence of that series makes him hope that all the original shows that these characters came from would get wider releases in the future. And he was totally right, because ever since Jellystone came out, we've been getting Blu-ray sets for some long overdue Hanna-Barbera shows, with the Huckleberry Hound show being one of them. Alright, let's look at... So here is Season 1. We can see there's Yogi and Boo Boo on there, which is great. We have an episode list on the back, which is awesome. Of course, we've already seen Season 1 on DVD, but those were remastered using interpositives. These are remastered using the original camera negatives, so they'll look even better. Here's what the disc artwork looks like. I'm betting it's all the same, but at least they chose to pick some decent artwork of Huck. Alright, then we have so Season 2 and 3. So we have, yeah, Mr. Jinx and Pixie Nixie. It's interesting, I'm surprised that they're not using like the modern stock art of the characters, you know, that they've been using since 1998. I would have preferred if they use that, since I think it, you know, looks much more true to what they looked like in the original Huck show. But I don't really mind, you know, I don't really mind them using the much later artwork. So season 3 is kind of interesting because around the same time that season 3 was starting to air, Yogi Bear got his own show, which was of course called the Yogi Bear Show. The first 13 Yogi cartoons on the Yogi Bear Show were made for the Huckleberry Hound show's third season, and half of those did actually air on the Huckleberry Hound show during this time. Hokey Wolf wouldn't replace Yogi until around March or April of 1961. So there was a time when you can find Yogi cartoons on both the Huckleberry Hound show and the Yogi Bear show. Now, on Wikipedia, its episode list has all the Hokey Wolf cartoons, you know, like for season 3, like it starts off with Hokey Wolf, even though we do have actual evidence, you know, suggesting otherwise. So I kind of wonder if season 3 follows the Wikipedia list, or if it actually follows a more accurate episode list. Well, let's check. So for season 2, all right, pretty good. Oh yeah, okay. So season 3, it does follow the Wikipedia list. Yeah, so I guess that technically doesn't make the set really complete, you know, like without the Yogi cartoons that did actually air on the Huck show. But they did air them. I mean, they were also on the Yogi Bear show, so I guess it shouldn't be that huge of a deal, because we'll probably see them, you know, if Warner Archive ever plans on doing a complete series of the Yogi Bear show. All right, last but not least, we have season 4 with Hokey Wolf. No dingling for some reason. All right, and then look at the back. And yeah, and we have all the bonus features from the Volume 1 DVD. Actually, I forgot to open the cases. Okay, wow, different artwork. We have Yogi and Boo Boo. And then season 3 with Pixie Dixie and Mr. Jinx. Okay, I was not expecting that. That's great. I'm guessing disc 4 has like, or season 4 has like Hokey. Yeah. Perfect. So yeah, this is a really neat looking set. I really love the presentation. I love how they have all the episodes on the back of the cases. I think that's great. Because usually on other Warner Archive releases, you know, like the more smaller ones like Top Cat and the Jetsons and McGill Gorilla and Wacky Races, those ones usually have the episode lists like on the disc art itself. But given how big of a set that Huckleberry Hound is, I mean, Huckleberry Hound is probably one of those Hanna-Barbera shows that probably has the most amount of seasons, besides probably the Flintstones. Flintstones has 6 seasons, Huck has 4. So I guess it kind of makes sense, you know, that like, you know, they put a lot more effort into the packaging, and I'm really glad they did. I definitely would have preferred, preferred, you know, that they used like some of the modern artwork, you know, like from the late 90s. But otherwise, I love that the choice of artwork that they used for the set. So what I'm gonna do, and I'm probably gonna make this video very long because I'm going to put all 11 discs on my 4K Blu-ray player. We're gonna look over them and, you know, like, you know, see what it has to offer. I mean, we probably already know, like, judging by the, you know, the back of the cases. But I'm still undetermined. So let's put in disc 1 and see what it looks like. Alright, let's see what disc 1 looks like. Okay, they actually, okay. I'm just speechless. So the other Warner Archive Blu-rays that I have don't, yeah, it's usually just silent. Like no music plays. They play the actual Huckleberry Hound Show theme song in the set. Like, wow. Well, like just wow. Like I'm just very impressed. All right, so we have episodes 1 through 6. I'm curious what it would be like if I click on it. So we have, so we click on show 1 and show others, and we have the cartoons. So usually in season 1, the Yogi Bear cartoons played first, then Pixie and Dixie, and then Huckleberry Hound. So they usually save the best ones for last. And yeah, some classic season 1 episodes. Again, they've already been released on DVD before, so there's anything new. I feel like season 1 is just a really great season, and it might be the best season, honestly, because I just really like the way I really like the way that Dan Gordon and Charlie Shows like wrote all the episodes. Like it's just they're very clever and sophisticated. And Warren Foster's writing is also pretty much on par. He would also write the cartoons later on in the show, but yeah, and why not? Let's play the theme song.
The biggest show in town is Huckleberry Hound for all you guys and gals. The biggest clown in town is Huckleberry Hound with all his cartoon pals. It's Huckleberry fun, it's for everyone. So come on, gather round. Get yourself all set, tune up your TV set for Huckleberry Hound. That oh so merry, Chuckleberry, Huckleberry Hound.
Kellogg's, your best choice in cereals, the best to you each morning, presents
Huckleberry Hound.
Wow. Man, I remember seeing the intro on MeTV Tunes, and I was like, "Oh, holy crap! That's that's the original theme song." Because there was another version of the theme song in 1967. So after the Kellogg's contract ended, and they were able to syndicate the show like without Kellogg's, and they redid the intro with Huckleberry Hound in it. But seeing that MeTV Tunes like used the original intro with Cornelius Rooster in color no less, I was shocked and surprised, even if it was slightly abridged. Here we have mostly the full theme song. I feel like there might be some footage that might be missing on this, but honestly, like for the most part, I'm just really impressed, like seeing some of that extra footage of like the Kellogg's and everything in full color. And so yeah, let's put in the other discs. All right, here is disc 2. So we're still on season 1. Here's the cartoons. Okay, so High Fly Guy, oh, interesting. Oh, they have the character segments like switched over. So we have a Pixie cartoon, then Huck, and then Yogi. Interesting. Okay, so for the Yogi cartoon High Fly Guy, there is an error, and this had been there when the Yogi cartoons were on HBO Max, and you can watch them now on Tubi. But in both instances of High Fly Guy, there was an error at the beginning of the title card, where instead of just playing the regular like Yogi Bear theme, they used part of one of the bumpers of Yogi saying, "I never miss a Yogi cartoon," and I don't know why. I don't know how that happened, but I'm curious if they fixed it on the set, because it wasn't an issue on the DVD. Oh, looks like they fixed it. Yeah, they actually fixed it. Okay, so they did actually fix it. That's good. That's very good. Let's see, so we got 8. All right. Oh yeah, so by episode 10, you'll see a few season 1 cartoons repeat. Like here's another repeat. Even though there are 26 full episodes, there are 22 cartoons for both Huckleberry Hound, Yogi Bear, and Pixie and Dixie. Here's another repeat. Alright, now let's put in disc 3. Alright, we have disc 3. So we're still in season 1. Another Huckleberry Hound repeat. Another Yogi repeat. It's interesting that they have all the repeated segments at the very last of the episode. Repeat of Pixie and Dixie. Repeat of Huck. Repeat of Yogi. And a repeat of Pixie. And another repeat of Huckleberry Hound. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's put in the 4th disc. Alright, we have the 4th and final disc. So we have the end of season 1. So, got a repeat of Yogi. And I think everything after that is all original cartoons from now on, so. And yes, we are done with season 1, so now let's go on to season 2. Alright, we are on disc 5, so the start of season 2. So yeah, so artwork's the same and the music's the same. No big deal. Alright, so 27 to 32. Oh, interesting. The order is slightly, or is it slightly different? I don't think it is. Alright. Yeah, I guess the cartoon segments were actually shown a little out of order. We got Lullaby Bear, the first appearance of Ranger Smith. Barefaced Bear. Not Barefaced Disguise, that's from season 3. And yeah, and season 2 was when Warren Foster started writing most of the cartoons, except for a few. I think all these cartoons were written by Michael Maltese, who did the Quick Draw show. I'm not sure about Rapid Robot. Maybe he wrote it. I'm not sure. Maybe when I start checking out all the episodes, I'll see for myself. And yeah, disc 6. Here is disc 6. So the last half of season 2. Here are the cartoons that are made for this season. Yeah, Heavens to Jinxie was on the Cartoon Crack-Ups DVD. Alright, now let's go on to the next disc. Alright, now we are on disc 7, so we're by the start of season 3. So we have Spud Dud, which was on the Cartoon Crack-Ups DVD. And so yeah, so the Hokey Wolf cartoons, they didn't air on season 3 until much later. So so there's a chance that the episode list on here might not be 100% accurate. But I mean, they did say that they that they were like referencing off of like an official episode list from like from the sponsorship. So so maybe this might have been like maybe this was like the original intention of the episode list, but the Hokey cartoons weren't finished in time, so they filled in a few Yogi cartoons in the gap. That's probably my theory. But nevertheless, let's go on to the next disc. Alright, disc 8. So the last half of season 3. So we have Bean Partners, which also had the title called Boobs in the Woods, but I guess it was only just a working title. Alright, next disc. Alright, disc 9. So we're in the start of season 4. Here are the episodes that are from this disc. Oh yeah, I remember this hokey cartoon. There were 2 clips that they would constantly play during Boomerang bumpers. Next disc. Alright, we're on disc 10, so kind of a home stretch. Yes, okay, so by episode 61, we have our last original Huckleberry Hound and Pixie and Dixie segments. The rest of the episodes only have original Hokey Wolf cartoons. Alright, last disc. Alright, here is the final disc. Disc 11. So we have 4 episodes. Mainly repeats, except for the hokey ones. And we have the bonus features. Huckleberry Hound, a linguistic masterpiece. The legendary... What's that sound going outside? Holy cow. Anyways, as I was saying, so there's Huckleberry Hound, a linguistic masterpiece, the legendary sound of Dawes Butler, and the Quotable Quotes music video. And these were all from the original release of the Volume 1 DVD, so there's nothing new. And that is pretty much it. Now let's talk about the actual Blu-ray itself and then the final verdict. Alright, now that we looked at all the menus, let's talk more about this set. So let's talk about the overall packaging and presentation. So I really love the packaging. I love how it's just a cardboard box with 3 Blu-ray keep cases. And the artwork they use, I guess they don't really use too much artwork, but it is kind of, but the artwork that they did choose does look nice. I definitely would have preferred if they used Patrick Owsley's artwork from the late 90s. Here, I'll get out my DVD. Because on the original DVD, they used more modern artwork of the characters that were drawn by Patrick Owsley from the late 90s. And they still use them to this day. And I honestly much would have preferred if they used like this artwork instead. Because I mean, as much as I like the artwork that they use on the complete series set, I do feel like that like this type of artwork look much more like the characters from the show than the than the ones on this. Because like these are like much later artwork from like after the Huckleberry Hound show. So yeah, so great packaging, great artwork. The presentation, I was not expecting them to actually play the Huckleberry Hound show theme song like on the menu, because most more archive menus are usually just silent. So just the fact that they actually did that was really cool. Not only that, but if you play it long enough, it's not just the theme song that they play. They actually edited the intro and outro together very seamlessly, and it sounds really great. And they also provide you subtitles, which is great because I'll get to a small minor nitpick in a second. So now that we looked at the packaging and presentation, let's talk about the overall video quality. Because for the most part, the video quality is fantastic. Almost all the episodes are remastered in their original 35mm camera negatives. The thing is, keep in mind, they only recreate the full episodes. There is no camera negative for the full episodes. They've only saved just some of the cartoons originally. So Warner Archive had to recreate the full episodes piece by piece as much as they could, you know, like with the bumpers that they had. Overall, the remastering looks fantastic. The colors are much brighter and more vibrant, and they definitely look really nice. You can definitely tell a difference between the original inner positives from the DVD and the original camera negatives from the Blu-ray. Like you'll definitely notice a huge difference, you know, like when you compare, you know, the footage. They still have their Kellogg sponsorship. Like seeing the intro in color was really neat. So yeah, so all the Kellogg sponsorships or any like mentionings of Kellogg's were retained in the episodes. However, the video quality, as great as it is, it's not 100% perfect, and I'll talk about some of the things that, you know, like that I've noticed on the set. So yeah, so they have a lot of bumpers in the episodes, and overall my feelings on them are a bit mixed, just because of like the way they presented them. I'll have to give Warner Archive credit though. They actually have an excellent amount of bumpers to use. The problem is that like they don't really use them all that well, because I feel like there's a lot of bumpers that are repeated constantly, especially in season 1, where it's almost the exact same bumpers over and over again. I do understand that they don't have every single bumper, and some of them like were probably like not restorable, since they probably came from a digital transfer or something. But it is still kind of a shame that, you know, that like they didn't really, there's just not a lot of variety with the bumpers that they use, because even though they do have a great amount of them, they don't really use them like randomly. Like they kind of use them a little too often, especially with the closing credits, because I counted, because there's like 9 opening bumpers from the Yogi era, as well as 4 closing bumpers also from the Yogi era, but they don't like use them like loosely. Like every single closing bumper in season 1 is that same spaceship scene over and over. Basically my criticism is that like I feel like they kind of are stuck using the bumpers for certain seasons, and I feel like it kind of like limited the variety of bumpers you know, for them to use. And that was just kind of a disappointment. But otherwise, I mean, the bumpers look great. I mean, I'm glad they're included. Another thing to point out is that they have the Kellogg's commercials in between the bumpers, which is nice. But the same problem applies for the Kellogg's commercials. They use the same ones over and over, and they don't really change them until like the next season or 2. I do like that you can skip every, you know, bumper and cartoon and Kellogg's commercials and everything. But honestly, I still feel like the Kellogg's, I mean, as much as I do respect like them wanting to present the episodes as they originally aired, I don't think the Kellogg's commercials were really that necessary, because if they just don't really have that much to work with, they probably should have just put all the Kellogg's commercials as a separate bonus feature. At least that's what I would have preferred. Another issue that doesn't really make this set complete, in my opinion, would be the fact that the Yogi cartoons that were made, and some did even air on Huckleberry Hound's 3rd season, are missing on this set. Instead, they're replaced with the Hokey Wolf cartoons. Now, I understand why they did this, because all those cartoons are also on the Yogi Bear show, so when they ever release a Blu-ray set for the Yogi Bear show, they'll probably include them there. They probably just didn't want people to double dip, and I can respect that. But at the same time, it doesn't feel quite as authentic, like without the included Yogi cartoons from that season. Especially if you watch the actual season 3 episodes, the 2 opening bumpers are from the Yogi era, while the closing bumpers, like that they use, I think there's 2 or 3 of them on season 3. They're from the Hokey era, so you kind of start off with opening bumpers from the Yogi era, and then after the Hokey cartoon plays, it's a closing bumper from the Hokey era. So yeah, there's some real inconsistency there. And again, I feel like it's kind of the fault, like for the fact that like they don't really do much like with the bumpers, like they keep them in specific seasons instead of just having them all over the place. And let's see, what are some other small nitpicks? Oh yeah, so the Yogi cartoon Bear on a Picnic, it's from season 1. It's the only cartoon in this to not be in its original 35mm camera negative. Instead, it is sourced from a 16mm copy, so the picture quality is not going to look quite as good as of the rest of the series. But it's the only copy that they really have, so you can't really blame Warner Archive for that. I do like that the credits... I like how the set has both credits. For season 1, there's the version where Huck, where Huck pops up, tipping his top hat, and then there's a second version that plays for seasons 2, 3, and 4 that have Yogi and Huck holding up a banner. So it is cool that they were able to include both versions. But the small nitpick there is that there's supposed to be a Screen Gems logo like after the credits, but it was not included on the set. And that's mainly just because the copy of the credits that they have just don't have that, and they weren't really comfortable wanting to walk over to Sony and ask for them, because the fact that they were able to get all the stuff that they were able to with Kellogg's and Sony, they probably didn't want to take any chances. So I can kind of understand that. So overall, I definitely would give the picture quality a 4 out of 5. Alright, so the audio quality is very great in most cartoons, most bumpers, etc., etc. Again, just like with the picture quality, there are some small minor issues that I noticed. So basically, most of the time you'll hear audio that's very crystal clear, but then other times you'll have a couple cartoons, especially like the very later ones, like where the audio is a bit more muffled. It's still very listenable, but again, it's not really Warner's fault. It's just that was the best soundtrack that they had for certain cartoons. I've also had this issue with the Magilla Gorilla and Flintstone sets, so it's nothing really new there. And then the last audio issue that I found was in the Yogi Bear cartoon Foxy Hound Dog. There's a little bit of noise gargling, especially when the characters talk. That's been like that for the Yogi Bear cartoons that are on Tubi and the ones that used to be on HBO Max. So it's anything new, but something that wasn't fixed. I don't think it was there on the original DVD. So it's kind of a shame, that they didn't fix it. But on the bright side, they did fix the title sound for the cartoon High Fly Guy, because originally, I know I already explained this earlier, so I might be a bit redundant, but if you watched it on HBO Max, and if you watch it now on Tubi, at the start of High Fly Guy, when they play the Yogi Bear title card, you'll hear audio of Yogi saying, "I never miss a Yogi cartoon." And that was not on the original DVD. But on this Blu-ray set, they actually fixed it. It plays them with the proper Yogi Bear theme song, which is great. So yeah, I would definitely give the audio probably a 3.5 out of 5. Everything is very listenable, and you have the option, for subtitles. So if you have troubles hearing or can't understand any piece of dialogue, you can just turn on the subtitles. Now we have to the bonus features. So the only bonus features that are included are the ones from the Huckleberry Hound Volume 1 DVD. There's, these 3. And the only one I really like is the Legendary Sound of Dawes Butler. I think it was a great featurette. And I don't think there really needed to be any more bonus features aside from that. But there's definitely some that I wish were bonus features, like the Kellogg's commercials. Considering how little commercials they have, and how frequently they repeat, I feel like it would have just saved me the hassle, and just they should just include them as bonus features, because I don't know, it just, to me, it's just not really worth, you know, like skipping over the commercials every time I want to watch a full episode. I know they wanted to present it as authentically as possible, but I still would have much preferred if they were just special features. Aside from that, I also would have loved to have seen them include the Cartoon Network shorties. Cartoon Network made shorts in the early 2000s, starring Pixie and Dixie, Yogi Bear, and Huckleberry Hound. And it would have been really neat if they also included them as bonus content. But I understand that this is, that this set is probably aimed more at like Gen X and Millennials. Because I feel like that's kind of like Warner Archives is a target demographic, so I could kind of understand why like they didn't really bother putting in the Cartoon Network shorties, since they probably appeal more for people like me rather than the target audience, you know, that Warner Archive movies and shows are usually aimed at. But you know, just something I just wanted to mention because I really like those shorts. Overall, besides a few hiccups, I think this is a fantastic Blu-ray set. I'm just so glad that we finally have the Huckleberry Hound show on Blu-ray. They look fantastic. The audio is pretty good, and it's only just like for the most part. Like there are like a few minor nitpicks for the visual and audio, but for the most part, everything is fantastic. I don't think I've ever been this excited about a Blu-ray set since, I don't know, probably Rankin and Bass, but yeah, so if you have not seen the Huckleberry Hound show, I definitely highly recommend you watch Huckleberry Hound show. I love the original Huck cartoons and the Yogi cartoons and the Pixie and Dixie cartoons. So if you want to have any of those cartoon segments in your collection, this is the box set to go with. And again, this was a show that I wanted Warner Archive to make a Blu-ray set for the most, and the fact that they finally made it a reality makes me feel very satisfied as a customer and as a consumer. I would like to thank George Feltenstein. He's pretty much the main guy behind Warner Archive, as well as the reason we have all these Hanna-Barbera shows on Blu-ray. Without his contributions, I probably would not be holding this in my hand. I also would like to thank Earl Kress. He is sadly no longer with us, but he was the guy who was responsible for a lot of the Hanna-Barbera DVDs from the 2000s. Without his contributions and dedication to the Hanna-Barbera universe, I feel like most of these shows probably would still be stuck on TV. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are subscribed to the channel, make sure to ring the notification bell so you won't miss out on any videos that I produce. I'll see you real soon. Same Huckleberry time, same Huckleberry channel.